And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
Happy Monday, FT fam. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. But the weekend I want to know most about is AJ Pierzynski doing the game of the week this weekend. I caught a little bit of it. This is where, in my mind, AJ, you really make your money because you have to be entertaining when both teams are essentially, I mean, one team is historically awful and the other team is essentially out of the playoff mix, and you have to entertain people for a few hours on TV. So how is White Sox Red Sox for you?
First of all, I got to do it with Don Orsillo. And if you don't know Don Orsillo's story, he was with the Red Sox for 15 years. And he went to Northeastern, which is across the street from Fenway. He grew up there. He is, Red Sox through and through, and they let him go. And he's now San Diego and does an amazing job with mud out in San Diego. But being back with him is awesome. And I don't know if you guys listen to it. We talk about the game, but it's very easy with Don to kind of go this way sometimes. But he always laughs. He always keeps it funny. And I don't know if you heard the directional school comments we had, but it was one of the times in my life where I have never laughed harder because trying to have him explain what a directional school in college football is live on the air on national TV, and then me stumping him when I asked if Central Florida was a directional school, and he said yes because it's right in the middle. And so to go from east to west, you have to go through the Central, and him dying laughing. Because if you know Don Orsillo is to love him, and also to hear him laugh just makes you cry laughing because when he gets his laugh going, you can't stop.
Yeah, he's got an 80 grade laugh. I didn't know that term. Have you ever heard that term, Kratz?
Never, but he does have an 80 grade laugh. I listened just for his laugh.
Yeah, so it's like Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame. So, and we were talking about college football, and I said, well, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame, and he goes, well, you never want to lose to those directional schools. And I said, well, is UCF, Central Florida, a directional school? He's like, oh yeah, because it's in the middle. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, the middle. There's the east, north, south, east, west, and central. To get to him, you have to go through the middle. So it's and I mean, he started laughing, and I started laughing, and he just couldn't stop. And then I asked him, well, what about Northeastern where you went? He goes, that's a double directional school. You have north and east, so you get twice the fun in that school. And I was like, oh, okay. And
yeah, I've never heard of that. It doesn't make a ton of sense, and that's a rule book double.
Yes, and he always uses disengagements too, and he does. And so we did the last 2 weeks together. We've done a bunch of games together, and we always have like these little things that he'll say, and then I'll start laughing because only I know what he's talking about. Like they're kind of like these little mini inside jokes, like when he's like disengagements, and then in the booth he'll look at me and go, "That's one," but no one else can see it. So I wish there was a way to just watch the broadcast, and like with every guy, like when I do a game this week with Adam Amin, we'll have kind of the same thing. So when you start doing games with guys over and over again, you get like these little things. And when you talk to them going into the game, or you sit there for 5 hours pregame, you talk to him, you have these things you talk about. And he'll be like, that's one disengagement. And I'm like, Don, what happens if he gets to two? And he's like, he can't do it a third time or he has to get them. Disengagement count is very important. And I'll be snickering with that cough button down so no one can hear me. And he just looks at me and starts laughing, I mean, just there's a lot of things with every announcer you do. And I'm very thankful that the guys at Fox employees are so fun because otherwise, if it was just like A to B to C to D, it'd be I'd probably lose my mind.
You can't do that. You can't be a boring baseball broadcaster. I mean, you can. Some exist, but we prefer entertainment, especially this time of year. Kratz, I mean, some teams are brutal, but fans will still watch. And you want to learn something. You want to be entertained. Right? I know the team broadcasters will go to the prospect world. That's cool. I'm into that. But you can't carry that for 3 hours either, right? That's a few minutes of a conversation. So, well, good stuff. You passed the test.
By the way, the stat of the year that everyone loved is we showed the White Sox 0-71, trailing after 6, 0-84, whatever the numbers were after. So we were like, can we just end the game after 6 innings? If they're losing, they were losing. We're like, oh, we can just end the game. It's over. And they actually made it somewhat entertaining. It got it to 7-5. But it's just amazing that you can have one team that has been the whole year. They're 123 games into the year, 124 games into the year right now, and have not won a game trailing after the 6th inning.
They're not the comeback kids.
No, but you would think, Kratz, that there would be a guy that walk. They're down by a run, right? And there'd be a walk or two, and then like some guy would pop one, And the closest they came was the Andrew Vaughn Janikowski where he jumped over the fence and brought it back. But they haven't. You would think like at home in the ninth inning, you're down by a run, a guy makes an error, a closer walks a guy, and a guy pops one, and you win the game walk off. That hasn't happened the whole year for the White Sox.
I don't even understand how that could be possible.
It's a young team too. You would think that, there'd be some energy. They would maybe do something special here and there, but it is what it is. All right. Well, you passed the test, and congratulations to everyone else for listening to the White Sox and Red Sox chatter for 5 minutes. The rest of the week's going to be easy for you. So let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
So we'll try to go to both sides of the coin here. Kratz, last night you had Sunday Night Baseball. Justin Verlander pitching, gets lit up. Diamondbacks really needed to get back on the winning side of things too. They had a rough weekend against Houston, and all of a sudden you look behind you and you're like, wait, the Mets and the Braves might be playoff bound if we don't play good ball over the next few weeks. And I know they're missing a lot of key pieces, but the schedule doesn't care. So anyway, first off, on the Justin Verlander side of the equation, 3 innings, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts, 75 pitches, 4 whiffs. Season ERA is over 5. 4 starts is coming off the IL is close to 10. He got no whiffs on his secondary pitches. The fastballs in play were getting smashed. I'm not rooting against him. Why would I root against him? He's a legendary player in the game. I just felt, fine, we'll go to AJ first. I just felt.
No, I'm going to let Kratz go first on this one because then I'm coming in off the top rope.
You felt what?
I felt like he was not a top 4 starter in the rotation from what I'd seen so far, and said you can earn that back. But if this continues, you can't start a playoff game for a team that's a borderline dynasty over the past 10 years.
You can't. But that wasn't the discussion. AJ and I did not disagree with you on that. The discussion was, does Joe Espada have the gumption to do it?
Yes.
Do they make that decision? And I think if that decision is made, I think it's Justin making the decision. I think he's the one that says, you know what, I don't have it. I don't see the results. The hitters will let you know what your stuff is doing. And the hitters let him know last night, 4 whiffs and not 1 on an off-speed pitch. That's tough to do when you're not throwing, when you have to throw all heaters and you're not throwing 99 anymore. Like, it's tough to do. That's why you see guys making adjustments. Now, fortunately, the Astros have a large lead. He will have a month to figure it out.
So just to be clear, before we get the top rope from Mankind over here, you would say,
Mankind didn't jump off the top rope.
Sure he did once in his life. Why? Because he's 7'9".
Mankind is not short. His name is Mick Foley. He's got like 2 teeth. He's from New Jersey. You should know him well.
Oh, yeah. I'm confusing him with Undertaker, who also is massive. So there's my WWE knowledge.
2 totally
we'll
different
football
people.
later, too.
Dude, not even, Undertaker once threw Mankind through the cage in Hell in a Cell, which was like 30 feet high, which people can't believe. And it was an accident. But continue.
All right. So go ahead. So verbally try that out right now. Because my thing is, if that happens over the next 3 to 4 starts and he comes into my office as manager and says, I'm still starting game 1, I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't.
No, he's not. But here's my thing. Here's what I'm going on the top rope off. First of all, congratulations. You're getting your wish. You're hating on Justin Verlander. It wasn't me, Justin. I love you. You're going to the Hall of Fame. You're great. Now, here's my problem. I have DirecTV at my house. Can we fix the ESPN thing, please? Because I can't watch Sunday Night Football. And if you don't fix it by tonight, I'm leaving you. I've been with you for 30 years. So I'm leaving you, DirecTV, because you guys suck if you don't put ESPN. I'll pay an extra $1 a month to get my ESPN. And the worst part is I can't watch ESPN Plus and watch my daughter play volleyball because DirecTV is in a fight with ESPN. Dude, I'll pay an extra $1 a month, okay? $1 whole, $2 whole, whatever it is. Just give me my ESPN back, my ABC. I missed 1 college football weekend because of you, DirecTV. Now figure it out. Okay, now back to baseball. Justin Verlander. Yes, right now he can't be in the playoff rotation. No, I'm not telling him. You're not telling him. We're going to make Scott Braun fly to Houston and tell him. Because when he gets the news, if it's not up to him, he's going to be pissed. And I get it.
Tell him.
But I'm just saying, listen, he can't be right now because you have 4 other guys. And Justin, knowing as self-aware as he is, I feel like he understands that. And like Kratz said, I think he'll go to him and say, listen, guys, I'm not 100%. I'm not feeling it right now. Because he's got, 2, maybe 3 more starts before the end of the year. If those don't improve drastically, it's going to be a hard conversation.
Right. So it's a moot point. He'll know. He's not
Yeah,
stubborn
no.
like that. He'll know. He'll say, hey, guys.
No, he's stubborn. He's stubborn, but he's a realist.
Yeah.
Right? And when he's like, I want to pitch on 50, well, listen, Father Time gets everybody. Ask Tom Brady. Like, it starts, and you saw the velo. He reached back a couple times. The home run to Pavin Smith, the second one where he went to left, he tried to reach back and get it because it was 95, I think, and he had been like 92, 93 the rest of the game. He tried to reach back and blow that ball by him, and Pavin Smith was like, boop, that's my second homer of the day. Grand slam to left, I believe.
Yeah, Pavin Smith had a day. 3 homers, 8 RBIs. Gino Suarez is
By
still
the
on
fifth.
fire. Yeah, by the 5th.
By the 5th.
Right. He had a chance
Yeah.
for the Grand Slam cycle. Or what is it called? The home run cycle.
Which had never happened before.
I don't think so.
It would have been awesome. It would have been awesome. And Gino, you were talking about Gino right there. 4 hits, 3 singles, and a homer. You know how many homers he has off of Josh Hader now?
4.
4.
Wow.
4 homers off of Josh Hader. Talk about seeing him good. He is definitely seeing that wobble good.
That's got to be the only dude that's at that number. That's got to be high.
He likes the ball a little bit in. He likes the ball a little bit up. Hader doesn't really have a pitch that can get to his back foot. He doesn't have a changeup that goes away from him. It's a good matchup for Gino Suarez.
So let's uncover more of the NL wildcard picture and figure out if the Mets and the Braves can both make the playoffs, or if that series that they have coming up in a couple weeks is going to decide who gets in. Giraffe Neck Marc, host of Mets Up, with a special announcement, and we will talk Mets ball next. Beard season has arrived. It's getting a little chillier. We got to do something with Manscaped in October too, where we ride some playoff beard. It doesn't have to be us, but there's got to be something there, right? Kratz, you're smarter than me on this stuff. There's something cooking there. Would you do a playoff beard?
Be creative.
Now? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. I mean, when does it start? I'm game for, I'll try anything twice.
Okay. October
Mustaches. I coach teams. I don't know. It puts me on a list if I have just a mustache. Like, they're like, I don't know if I can trust this guy, but I can. Let's try something. Let's get our creative thinking caps on. Let Manscaped take care of this, John.
Exactly. They can take care of a lot. So make sure you look them up. The code is FOUL20, and AJ special delivery for you soon. Okay.
Okay. And I can't do a playoff beard because I have to be neatly trimmed for the.
Oh.
He's pro.
That's true.
He's pro. That's fine. That's why you gotta go to me. That's why you gotta go to the backup. Let the pro guys be pro. I'll be the clown. I'll be the clown show.
Yeah, we're here. The bench warmers are here. We're not calling a game on bougie national television, so we'll handle that.
On DirecTV.
Exactly.
No, it's on Fox. Fox and DirecTV aren't fighting each other.
That's
Only
true.
ESPN.
You can watch AJ wherever you want. Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
A little more info on Manscaped, as we've talked about them in the past, and we are still rolling with a Manscaped sponsorship right now. So 20% off and free shipping with the code FOUL, FOUL20, a 5th generation trimmer featuring 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, standard one for taking a little off the top, and then a new foil blade to go smooth wherever. Make sure you go check out the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, including the star of that show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with that exclusive offer, FOUL20, FOUL20. Be right back. Hey, FT is jumping on the biggest bandwagon in baseball right now. The New York Mets have won 9 of 10 games, so this is a perfect time to make a very special announcement as Giraffe Neck Marc is back with us on the show. Not just the YouTube creator who you can follow, but also the Metsed Up podcast host. Giraffe Neck Marc, great to see you, dude. Do you want to do it or should I do it?
I mean, listen, I'm happy to tell everybody. Metsed Up
Yeah.
Podcast is the podcast that me and my co-host James Schiano host. We are joining the Foul Territory Network, and super excited to come along and be one of the other team podcasts that you guys have. Super pumped.
It's
Love
about
that.
time.
Yeah, about time. Exactly.
Exactly. We've had you on multiple times. Now we make it official. Our Mets team show is right at the bottom of your screen. Scan that QR code. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. It is called Metsed Up. Very clever name. Great logo, too. So that also means for FT fans and for Metsed Up fans, more episodes, more guests, more everything, right? Like, give us a little preview of, what you guys do on a multiple times a week basis.
Yeah, we do an episode after every single series where we recap what just happened. Baseball is kind of talked about in series, so we think that's the best format to go along with. And we're now going to add another episode every single week where we either have a guest that we're interviewing that we talk about the Mets about, or we talk about prospects. We love talking about the farm system. So that's something that's done really well on our show in the past. And now that we have the opportunity to do another full episode during the week, it feels like a really good spot to put it. So if you love Mets content, you love talking about baseball, and you're not one of the super negative Mets fans, I think you'll really enjoy our show.
Yeah, and also a shout out to James Schiano, obviously your co-host, and you guys do an amazing job. So we're excited to be bringing you into the Foul Territory Network, the Foul Territory fam. So let's give everyone a taste of what you guys have been talking about lately. So this team's playing pretty good ball. This is the ultimate bandwagon in baseball right now, right? They have a lot of fun. The offense is thriving. What else? What am I missing? What are you enjoying the most?
I mean, listen, just being able to see guys like Sean Manaea and Luis Severino come into this rotation at the beginning of the year, and they're dudes who had to prove it a little bit, signed one-year contracts on a little bit more team-friendly deals than it would be for the player, and they've come in and they've been amazing. Sean Manaea has been one of the best left-handed pitchers in the National League this year. His ability to just go deep into games, he's been dominating guys ever since he dropped his arm slot. It's been awesome to watch him improve, along with Luis Severino coming off major injuries. Just really hasn't been the same in quite some time since his peak with the Yankees, and to come to the other side of New York, the better side of New York, play for the Mets and just dominate like he has. I think it's really cool to see, along with the fact that they're helping push the playoffs for the Mets, that now this is going to be a place that a lot of free agent pitchers who maybe are going to sign these shorter term deals, they're going to want to come to the Mets because they're going to know that you're going to be able to perform better, improve your game, and end up getting paid at the end of the year.
Yeah, but you also are going to want the big time guys. You're going to want Max
Of course.
Fried. You're going to want Corbin Burns. Don't make it out to be that the Mets are like St. Pete North. Like, this is what I need to know. We had Reed Garrett on the show the other day on Friday. Who is the unsung hero of this team?
I think right now, I'm going to go with Jose Butto. He's been incredible out of the bullpen. Reed's been great too, especially with that splitter. But Butto has really just been a bit of a jackknife when you look at how this team has been. He's been in their starting rotation. He did well to start the year. They ended up moving to the bullpen towards the second half of the season. And he's been one of our best arms. When Edwin Diaz was struggling to get big outs, Jose Butto was coming in and getting those big outs for us. He's gotten a couple saves. He can go multiple innings. He just does everything that we could ever ask of him, and he continues to throw strikes and improve, which is something that I think a lot of Mets fans can look forward to with Butto and his progression.
Okay, let me ask you this. You mentioned Severino. You mentioned Manaea. Who do they bring back next year? They bring back one, two, both of them? And who would you rather have back?
Okay, I don't know if realistically they're going to be able to bring either of those guys back just because I think Manaea
Stevie Cohen's got all the money in the world. Why not?
Steve Cohen's got the money. I think, like Kratz said, I think we're going to be looking at some of the bigger names if we're going to spend that money. But if there was one guy I want to bring back of those two, I think it's going to be Sean Manaea. I think what he's done has been really repeatable. I think he's been really comfortable here in New York. And just the growth that we've seen from the beginning of the year where he kind of struggled to get through that fifth inning. We now see him go 7 innings pretty much every single time he steps out on the mound. That's a guy you can rely on. That's a guy whose stuff I think has gotten better as the years gone on. And someone I'd love to see back in New York. His vibes have been incredible too. Just seems like a great teammate.
All right, from our chat, Armand from our chat asked Mark, if the Mets make the playoffs, he didn't even put in there a big if. If the Mets make the playoffs, your smile just got huge as any Met fan in the playoffs. So it's a good problem to have. Who starts game 2? Sevy, or what David Peterson's been doing is pretty special too recently?
I think right now it's going to be Luis Severino. And the reason being is that I don't think the Mets want to go with back-to-back lefties, game one, game two. And I think what Severino has done has been a little bit more repeatable. When he uses a sweeper more often, like over 15% of the time for his pitches, he's been a way more effective pitcher. He's been doing that a lot more in the second half. And it's not that David Peterson hasn't been incredible. I mean, the ERA is below 3. He's going 6-7 innings every time, getting such incredible performance out of him. But I think for Peterson to have that kind of pressure of being the game 2 starter when he's not even the number 2 guy ahead of Severino right now, I think it would be a little bit aggressive. But I guess we'll see too when we get there. If David Peterson's still pitching like he is and maybe Severino takes a step back, go with the hot hand. I will trust everything that Carlos Mendoza has done this year. He's done an incredible job.
All right, but the scenario could play out that you're playing the Brewers, one of the worst hitting teams versus left-handed starting pitching. Do you give it? Do you think the Mets make the move to give him the nod, or is it okay? Sevy's done exactly what you said. Now he's our number 2 guy.
I think there's a world in that matchup they could go David Peterson because of that left-handed hitting matchup being such a difficulty for the Brewers this season. But in the same regard, if Luis Severino struggles in game 2, you still have David Peterson for game 3. I think they're going to go with the guy that they trust the most, the guy that's been in the front of this rotation all year long. I still think it's going to be Severino, but the Brewers do struggle against lefties. I couldn't argue against going Peterson in game 2 either.
Okay, so you just flip flop, but that's fine. Welcome to the Scott Braun world of broadcasting. Say whatever you
That's
want.
what Mets fans do. We go back and forth.
Yeah. You should have named your show "Mets Are Going to Met," but that's a different story.
Come on now.
Now, if they, let's say this, because I don't know that they're going to run away with it, and I don't know that the Braves are going to go away. Okay, I mean, if it comes down to it, there's only one day off, right? I think, is there 2 days off or 1 day off? I don't know. Between the last day. Okay, so you have 2 days off. Let's say you have to throw Manaea the last game. So you do Peterson, Severino, Peterson, and then Manaea. And then who's the 4th guy? That's what I want to know is who would be the 4th guy if you get to a game 4? Because the first 3, pretty settled, but who would be the 4th guy in any matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like right now it's probably going to be Jose Quintana, which is a little bit worrisome. He's been a little iffy at times this year, but then he has a 3-game stretch where he pitches really well. I think it's probably going to be Quintana. Senga doesn't look like if he's coming back for the playoffs, he's going to be able to be used out of the rotation. Christian Scott still has an ability to come back, but do you want to throw a rookie who's had a bit of an up and down season in a big postseason game like that? I think they end up going with Quintana. I think it ends up being along the lines of Quintana could go 3, then maybe you piggyback a Jose Budo. You got Tyler McGill, who's now been moved to the bullpen or is at least available out of there. I think it's an all hands on deck game if you're going to have to do something like that. And I think that's what the Mets' strength is. They've been able to just adapt. And Quintana, if he's not the guy, they have other dudes who will step up too.
Did you have Mark Vientos doing what Mark Vientos is doing this year? Or are you a Beatty guy and you thought this was going to be Beatty having 24 dingers, having almost a 3 WAR as your be honest.
No, I thought it was going to be Beatty. I really did. Vientos struggled with velocity last year. His approach was just so vastly different than what we've seen this season. He was a different player, but it seems like the conversation that he had with Carlos Beltran during spring training when he got the news that he wasn't going to make the MLB roster on opening day, Beltran told him to use the other field more, use the right center field gap, something that's been a strength of his. He has insane power. Just be comfortable, have a little confidence at the plate, and do what you do best. And that seemed to change everything for him. And since then, he's been a man on just an absolute rampage. He has the highest WRC plus among third basemen in Major League Baseball, which is a crazy stat considering the year that J-Ram and Rafael Devers are having. Those guys are incredible. But Vientos has just been a completely different player. The power's still there. And I'm so glad that I was wrong because I would have been giving Brett Beatty all this opportunity. Now we've given it to Vientos, and he's completely changed this lineup.
Yeah, that was one of the key moves of the year. Whoever made that decision, mix of Mendoza and obviously David Stearns has been off to a strong start in his first season where he was supposed to kind of get comfortable, and this team's competing for a playoff spot. Where are we at on Edwin Diaz right now? Because I know it's been a streaky year for him.
I think we're starting to figure out what Edwin needs to be at his best. And you saw it on Saturday when he came into a 4-run game, not a safe situation. Unfortunately, that means they weren't able to use him on Sunday. We got the blown save from Phil Maton, but It seems like Edwin, when he gets up in the bullpen, he's coming in the game now. There's no more sitting him down. There's no more giving him that extra rest. And I think for a guy who was out of baseball for an entire year, coming off a major injury, something we've almost never seen from pitchers, tearing one of the biggest ligaments in your knee, I think we also got to realize that it does take time. And he's been getting closer to 100 miles per hour on that fastball more consistently. The slider's looking sharper. It's going to take the guy a minute to get back to his form, which was the best closer in baseball. I don't think he's there just yet, but I'm more comfortable than I was a couple months ago when things were looking really, really rough for Edwin.
I was going to ask you this. I don't know where you stood on this, but were you a Lindor hater? Like, because there's a lot of Mets fans that were, oh, Francisco Lindor, he hasn't earned his money, although he just put up solid year after solid year. Now, this year's been a special year. He's probably not going to win MVP, but he's going to finish top 3. Where do you stand on the Lindor people that said, this guy's never going to be worth it, but all he does is go out, play every day, and put up solid numbers at the shortstop position?
I've been a huge Lindor fan since the moment that move was made. I was a fan of his in Cleveland. He was one of my favorite players. I was always afraid
That's a
that
lie.
he was
Nobody even knew what he was. Nobody even knew who he was in Cleveland.
I did. You don't know how crazy my baseball fandom is. I'm obsessed with this stuff. But Lindor, I've always been a big fan of his. He was awesome. I was honestly super worried that the Yankees were going to make him their next franchise shortstop. So I was super glad when he came to the Mets. And I know there was a lot of haters of his at the start. Was not one of them. I ran around my apartment screaming and yelling when we gave him the extension before he even played a game with the Mets. Like, I have been so high on Francisco Lindor from the start, and I think it's so nice that finally, I don't think there's anybody else that can say or be a hater of his anymore. The season he's having is amazing. There's a conversation that he could be the MVP over Shohei Ohtani. It's going to be almost impossible, but there's a conversation. And I think for Mets fans and the haters out there, that's all they really needed. $30 million, he's worth way more than that. One of the best defensive shortstops in the game, 30 homers, 30 stolen bases, 800 OPS. I mean, I don't know what else anybody could need if there are any haters still out there.
Does anything happen in this less than a month of baseball that keeps or pushes Pete Alonso from being on this team or pushes him away in this last month?
I think that if Pete goes nuclear and just goes on one of these power streaks that we've been waiting for all year, I think that's a really good way for him to go into the offseason and have the opportunity to go get the money that he wants. Because I don't think right now there's really a huge market for Pete Alonso, and that there's a lot of teams that are going to be willing to spend the money to pay a guy like him at the first base position. I don't think that a poor performance changes anything. I think right now the Mets are still the favorites to bring Pete Alonso back. I think they're not going to go out and spend a ton of money. But if he goes crazy and goes on a run where he really puts this offense on his back like we're begging and praying he does, I think the Mets are going to have to almost just go sign him one of the first moves of the offseason.
Okay, let me ask you this before we let you go. Mets up is now in foul territory. We have hammer territory. If it comes down to like the last weekend, can we have like a mashup of you two yelling at each other and fighting over who has the best podcast and whose team is going to get into the playoffs?
I mean, listen, I've been yelling at Braves fans for like the last 5-6 years since I've been doing this YouTube thing. So I'm ready to roll at any moment. I'm going to be heading down to Atlanta for that series too. Like I'm going into enemy territory. I'm looking for a fight there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. They usually ruin our season, which is kind of depressing and a nightmare that I'm terrified of. But this Braves team feels just a little bit different. And that's probably because they don't have a lot of their really good players because they're hurt. But that's fine. We'll take it as Mets fans. We've been hurt in the past before. Just keep playing good baseball. I think we can beat this team.
Yeah, 2022 was the nightmare, right? That was the series that
please.
we're trying to wipe out for you guys.
Yeah, don't ever want to think about that again. That was like literally one of the worst months in my life.
Well, you got it good. Now, hopefully this is one of the better months. So it's awesome to have you part of the FT fam officially here. Everyone check out Metsed Up. Smash the QR code. Ooh, nice. Very well done. Yeah, pretty. You can check out the podcast on YouTube on Metsed Up, the YouTube channel. And of course, again, wherever you get your pods, it's a great listen and you're guaranteed to get one after every series and more. So again, congrats and welcome to the FT fam. Giraffe Neck Marc. Awesome to have you and James aboard.
Thank you guys. Super excited to join and let's go Mets.
Yes. Good luck to those Mets.
LF, isn't it LF?
We can say
LFGM. Yeah, LFGM all day.
Okay.
LFGM. See you later. Thanks, dude.
Is this, and you said it, this is kind of the first salvo in Scott Boris's revenge tour, right? I said at the time, they asked me who's the happiest. I go, Scott Boris is the happiest that this happened because this is a giant, like, here I come, boys, because I got Soto, Alonso, Snell again, Montgomery possibly again. I've got all these guys lined up. You're all going to have to come to me for all the stars this year.
Well, AJ, first of all, I'll try to give you an answer that you like. I know you prefer me to BS and give ridiculous answers at times.
We're just
hot takes,
asking
but
for you to
not
answer the
happening.
question. We're just asking you to answer the question we ask.
All right, the answer to this question is just what I wrote and just what you said. Even last offseason, when I was critical of Boris at times for what was going on, and I thought rightly so, I always included the caveat that it's one off season and there are off seasons to come, opt-outs to come, situations that could change a lot. And it wasn't over. One off season does not end it for Matt Chapman, for Blake Snell, Montgomery, who left, of course, and anybody else, Cody Bellinger. They had these opt-outs. They had the ability to go back into the market. Chapman bet on himself, as he said, and succeeded. He had a really good year. Has had a really good year. One of his best, actually, I believe his best since 19. So, given all that, Boris now has a player, and we're just talking specifically about Chapman, who is armed to go back into the market and is with a team that really needs him. And a team where Matt Chapman is comfortable, and a team that going forward needs to build around Matt Chapman and get more players like him. So they do this deal, and the way it comes out, yes, it's 6 years, 151, but don't forget the $18 million this year. That makes it 7 years and $169 million. If you would have said at the start of last offseason that would be what Matt Chapman ended up with, you would have said, wow, great outcome. And I do believe it's going to be similar for Snell. And we'll see how it goes with Bellinger. It's a little bit different. He hasn't had quite the year these other two guys have had. But it is a revenge tour to some degree. I'm sure Boris wouldn't like me saying that because he doesn't consider it revenge. It's just his job, and he's reading the market and all that. Okay, fine. But he has this class. Soto and Bregman and Burns and Alonso and Snell going back out. He's going to do quite well this winter.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
All right, so I'm like the point guard on this show. I just dish the rock to the power forward, the shooting guard, you guys, right? And so I'm usually the guy that reads the quotes, but I'm feeling quite ill. So I'm going to hand this over to my friend Erik Kratz, who is the best at reading quotes here on the team. Come on, Kratz, you got to face your fears.
I'll do it. I'm just not the best at it.
I'm in load management mode right now, NBA's
Fine.
favorite. So I'm here, but I would like to hear you talk about Nestor Cortes, former teammate, right?
In my best Nestor Cortes?
Yeah.
Nestor
I mean,
Cortes
if you
from
want to go down that
ILM?
route.
Yeah, 100%. I thought Nestor's comment. Okay, we'll just get into it. I'll first read it. Obviously, I was upset. I felt like I've been amongst the starters, the workhorse here. Once Cole went down, they picked me to be the opening day starter. Not necessarily the number one, but the opening day starter. I had to switch my routine there. Remember that quote. Now they do this. Now they told me that I'm starting against Boston, but after that, with a 6-man rotation and off days in between, guys are going to get extra days, and I don't think that's necessarily the right move. So we'll see. Nestor was not afraid to say it with his chest. He was, and I want to see what AJ has to say before I say what I have to say about my teammate, because I know an ex-teammate, because I know how Nestor is. But AJ, how do you feel about what Nestor said here? After needing to piggyback, he was the minor league piggyback for piece of Schmidt.
Well, this is the second time now that a Yankee has come out and said, I'm not going to do what they need me to do to make the team better. Because if you remember, Gleyber Torres said, I'm a second baseman. I am not going to play third base. Now Nestor says, I am a starting pitcher, because I pitched on opening day, that officially makes me a starting pitcher for the rest of my career because I pitched on opening day with it one time back when I did it. So, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you need to put the best 26 guys in the best position to win the World Series if you're the Yankees. Because every year that they don't win a World Series is a failure in their world. So I don't know what Nestor Cortes was trying to get at here other than he wants to start, which I totally understand. And it was great when you moved your thing around because Cole got hurt to be the opening day starter. Great. But you know what? You're like, man, look how cool it is on the opening day starter. You're going to use that. But then when they ask you to go to the bullpen, look at what Chris Sale did in 2018 for the Red Sox. He went down there and finished the World Series out for him, right? Look at what the Astros did with McCullers and Morton, where they flip-flopped them to try to get their best matchups. Listen, if Clark Schmidt is the right answer for the Yankees to start, win the division, win the World Series, and Nestor, you have to go to the bullpen, it sucks on a personal level, but at the end of the day, if it's the right thing for the organization, then you just got to do it.
I don't think it costs Nestor any money. Nestor's not going to free agency yet next year, but this is probably the best scenario for Clark Schmidt to come in and start coming off the IL. I have a hard time believing they'd be like, "Hey, Nestor's going to start, and you're going to come in for the last 3 to 5 innings. Like, adjust your routine for that." To me, this is much better for the team, like AJ said, for Nestor to come in because he has been kind of that Swiss Army knife throughout his entire career. I know he wants to be the starting pitcher. I know he was an all-star when he was healthy. I know he was opening day starter. And I think the feel that he has, based on what he was saying here, I had to switch my routine there. He felt like he did something, and he felt like this was an opportunity that maybe he would get not paid back, but not be the one that got bumped out of his start. He's still going to get his start. The end of his quote, though, where he was talking about we got extra days, and I don't think that's necessarily the right move. That to me might be a bigger, like, how many of the starters are talking? Starters kind of all hang out with each other. Maybe the starters don't feel like Carlos Rodon, he wants the ball every 5 days. Nestor Cortes, he wants the ball every 5 days. Garrett Cole wants the ball every 5 days. So to me, that was less about Nestor Cortes and maybe more about what they have been talking about as starters together.
And what do you think the rest of the team says about this? So perfect to have the catcher's perspective. Erik just brought up a potential theory on the pitching side. Like, AJ, if you hear this, what do you say to him and behind his back?
To him, I'm like, dude, what are you talking about, bro? You're still getting to start. Like, I don't understand why. I don't know. It just seems like an unlikely distraction for a team that's in a playoff race. And I get what Kratz is trying to say. Like, oh, maybe he's saying it for, Stroman, Rodon. These are veteran guys. Garrett Cole. These aren't rookie guys that need Nestor Cortes to come out and say something for him. To me, this came across as like, oh, I'm not getting to do what I want to do, so I'm gonna kind of voice my frustrations. But I mean, Nestor's not. It's not like Nestor's Garrett Cole last year where he go out and win the Cy Young. I mean, he's having an okay year. And you know what? You did a great job in the bullpen when you came in. So why don't you go with that and be like, yeah, it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I did what the team asked, and I pitched my butt off, and I had a great outing. And now next time I get to start, I'm going to go out there and do the best I can. It's tough. It's like the Verlander thing, right, that we talked about earlier. Yeah, Justin Verlander wants to start, but if they go to him and say, hey, we need you in the bullpen, it's a fine line you walk when you start saying like, oh, I should be a starter when other people in the organization are like, maybe that's not the best fit for us to win a World Series.
I hate the stock answers. But in this case, he didn't go with the stock answer, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate him being open and honest. But I think I don't know when he made these quotes. If he made these comments directly after the game, that means He was stewing on this. He was stewing on this for a little while because he had finished the game. I think he threw – was it just him and Clark that pitched that game?
Yes.
Okay.
It was Clark, then him, and then he spoke afterward.
He needed a little cooling off time because he could have been feeling himself there, but I I don't think it's going to create a distraction. I think it's something that when guys say something in the media, the players already have seen it for the last week or the last 4 days whenever they told Nestor he was going to piggyback. So I don't think it's going to create a distraction. Their ultimate goal is to go out and win a World Series. And this last month is going to be like anybody else's last month of the season, last 20 games of the season even. It's a tryout. I think he has a 3.95 ERA. He's done well. He's a plus player right now. He is super successful for what he's doing. He has to earn that spot because we just named Rodon, Stroman, Garrett Cole, all guys that are ahead of him in a playoff rotation right now.
His line is 3.97, 163 and a third, ERA plus 105, and about an average pitcher, a little above average pitcher.
So who else is going to piggyback there? Did he want Clark Schmidt to piggyback him? Or did he want Stroman or Rodon? So he wanted Clark Schmidt to piggyback him.
You forgot Luis Heel, by the way, who also has to be in play here.
You think
you're going to start? Rotation? Are you going to start Nestor Cortes or Luis Heel if you have to win one game? Who has better opportunity? I'm just asking. Okay, then there's your answer. Then you only start 4 in the postseason, right?
So who's the 4 right now for the Yanks?
It's got to be, you got to do Cole. You got to have Rodon. You got to have Stroman. And then you got to go Heel or Schmidt, right?
I go Schmidt over Stroman if Schmidt pitches well the next few starts.
Okay, that's fine. But that doesn't, we didn't mention Nestor. There was no Nestor involved. Nestor's had an okay year, but Nestor's not doing, like I said, if you're Garrett Cole and you do what Garrett Cole did last year and you win the Cy Young and then you make these comments, okay. But listen, Nestor's been a good pitcher his whole, since he's come over to the Yankees, he's been good. But if there's other options, the Yankees are basically telling you right here, hey, we got other options.
Okay, so let's get to part 2. I mean, this is a different conversation, but it's also about a battle and it's figuring out playing time. On Friday, Brian Cashman spoke about Jason Dominguez. Yanks fans are hot about Jason Dominguez not being up with the team. They don't care, or I would say at least some people don't care if he gets called up now versus a week from now. You want to give him a little bit of time, though, if you're going to have him be part of your playoff roster. And there are many fans that are believing that he would perform better than Alex Verdugo. Okay, so Cash said that the org believes Verdugo gives them the best chance to win games, which is why Martian hasn't been called up. This from Brian Hoke. And Cashman said they will not call up Dominguez unless he can play every day. I also read an article that was going over some of what the Yankees analytics staff really, really loves the most. And they were showing how a lot of their numbers were similar. If you look at Dominguez and Verdugo's exit velocity, hard hit percentage, barrel percentage, Dominguez was higher, but they were like, see, it's pretty close. So maybe they're looking at the underlying stats. And I'm like, I hope they're not doing that. That's a tough sell. But what do you think about this one? I mean, AJ, if he keeps hitting like he does in the minor leagues right now and the Yankees don't win a World Series, fans are going to be like, yo, you had a secret weapon down in the minor leagues who could have hit like a star for a few weeks. You don't feel that way?
But what if he doesn't? No, that's the thing. What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? What if they make this move? Because they can't go back. If they say, hey, we're going to use Jason Dominguez instead of Verdugo, you put Verdugo on the bench, then you lose Grisham. You have to give up somebody. Who do they give up? Grisham? They release Verdugo at this point in the season? That's the question for me is what happens if this doesn't go well? Dominguez, I know, came up for one game and had a 0 for 4 or 3 punchies. That stuff happens. But let's say Dominguez comes up for the last 2 weeks and he's hitting 150 with a bunch of strikeouts, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and a ton of strikeouts, and his defense doesn't look that great. Let's not forget that game he played in, Williamsport? They ran all over him. They ran all over him in the outfield. At least Verdugo might be able to make some plays defensively for you. So, I mean, listen, the Yankees know these guys better than we do. And I know it's a fun argument for fans because they're like, oh, Derek, our guy, pinstripe territory. Oh, bring up the Martian. He's going to be the next Barry Bonds. He's going to be the next Mickey Mantle. What if it doesn't go that way? At least you have a known quantity in Verdugo. He seems to fit on the team, and the Yankees know them better than we do, so we got to trust them.
Nobody knows the future. You know that Jason Dominguez is, he has a higher ceiling than Verdugo. You don't know what he's going to do in these last 20-some games. But what you do know is because they started paying minor leaguers more, they pushed the entire minor league season for another month. And they don't need to bring Dominguez up because you don't know that he's going to add ridiculous amounts of value over Verdugo. You can have both of them playing every single day. And I'm sure if the Royals had an option to bring up another big leaguer at first base that they had in the minor leagues, and they were both playing Vinny Pasquantino and this other big leaguer in the minor leagues, they're both getting at bats, and then what happened to Vinny happens. He's out for the rest of the regular season. Then you bring up a guy who's been playing. Like AJ said, if you bring Dominguez up, somebody's sitting. Why do that when you don't need to and there's not a definite advantage? You don't know exactly what he's going to do. You're not bringing Juan Soto up from the minor leagues. You're bringing a guy that will have a really great career. You just don't know yet, and you don't need to make the move. You have an opportunity to keep them playing. Keep it exactly how it is. That is where the Yankees, as a whole organization, have the best chance of winning a World Series.
Yeah, and they might have a line in their head where they're like, if it doesn't happen by this date or by this date, let's make a decision where we go, okay, let's make the move. Let's go for it, right? Right now, an extra week in the minors versus the majors, how much of a difference does it make? So we'll see. We'll see. Yanks fans, get after it. Let us know what we're hitting on, what we're missing right now in the chat. We'll come right back with Whit Merrifield in a moment. And a reminder to everyone, Pinstripe Territory, like AJ mentioned, is hosted by our guy, Derek. It is on the Foul Territory Network. There are episodes daily, including after every single Yankees game live on YouTube. We will be right back. Okay, Kratz, you absolutely nailed your job. So you're on the pathway to being the starting point guard for Foul Territory, who also can drop 40 points. If you can read a quote board and take us beautifully through what Navage does for you, you're almost there.
I mean, I am the face of Navage right now. I would say more the nose of Navage, because it was built for me. Somebody who snores, somebody who just, I don't know, allergies of all kinds just show up, and it's not perfect. It doesn't cure my snoring, but my wife gets to sleep better at night because Navage clears me out right before I go to bed. And it is like, it literally is one of the best pre-bedtime things that I get to do, because it just clears everything out, and I sleep better. My wife sleeps better. It is tremendous.
And it's drug-free. It's 99.9% pure saline salt pods, no medicinal side effects. Okay. So definitely give it a try. I feel like it's one of those products where you're like, man, not for me, or I feel like I breathe fine. And then you do it and you're like, I didn't breathe out on this kind of breathing my whole life. It's that kind of impact. That's why they are who they are. And that's why you see them all over the place. Okay. You see them, at the drugstores, you see them online, of course. So go online. You don't have to go in anywhere. Navage.com/foul, FOUL, as if you don't know how to spell it. It's everywhere on the screen. But Navage makes breathing easier, effectively clear congestion, and enjoy a better day. Scan the QR code to visit Navage.com/foul. Use promo code FOUL to order a convenient Navage starter pack. And if you use our code, you'll get a free cleaning kit as a gift. Whit Merrifield joining us next on FT. Oh, nice. Here we go. back on FT with Whit Merrifield. That looks good. How's the weather out there today?
It's nice. I tell you what, for summertime in Atlanta, we've had like one tough week, but it's been really mild here.
You're not dripping with sweat down there this summer?
No, it's like you step outside and you don't instantly start sweating. So that's different for Atlanta in the
I like that
summertime.
a lot. How you feeling, dude? We got a lot to get to with you, but how you feeling, first of all? How's the foot?
Foot's good. Yeah, it's when it happened that night, team doctor, we wasn't really sold that I was going to be able to come back from it. And then the next morning, having talked to the foot specialist, kind of pounded home with him that, hey, if I can get on this thing, is it going to get worse? And after looking at it, he said no. So that was kind of all we needed to hear. And now we're trying to work to get back Friday for the Dodgers.
And what is that? What takes place? What takes place with that? I know you got the second opinion, the foot specialist. You're going with what he's saying or she's saying. I'm not sure, but like, what's the process? Are you like 24/7? Got the stim machine on your foot? Do you do bone scan thing? What all you got?
They gave me some stuff to take home, so yeah, I'm doing stuff at home as well. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. They just said, hey, put it on your foot and press this button. But here, we're just kind of rolling through rounds and rounds of treatment. I think today we're going to get out and do some baseball activity and see where that is. Put some cleats on, and that's really, I can feel nice in these UFOs flip flops all I want to. But once I put metal spikes on, it'll be a big factor to see really where I'm at. So I think we're going to do that today. Staying back. They're going to Washington tonight for a quick 2-gamer, so I'm staying back to do some stuff here and work to get ready for Friday.
So, what did they say? Because listen, how important was a second opinion? Because I went through this once. I got hit by a pitch in the wrist, and they were like, "Oh, you got to have surgery. You're out for the year." This was like in the middle of August, and I'm like, "Whoa! Let's take a deep breath here. Let me go to see another doctor that's like a hand specialist." And I'm sure you went to a foot specialist, and they looked at it and they said, "No, you can't do anything more." That was kind of the same thing they said to me. They're like, "You don't need surgery. It's just pain management. It's not going to get worse." So what are they telling you as far as soon as your time on the IL is up, you can play as long as you can manage the pain, or is there something else you have to do?
No, I mean I'm not even on the IL right now.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so the Dodger series is 5 or 6 games from when it happened. So yeah, we avoided the IL. And I mean, the team doctor looked at the thing, saw the break, saw where it was in my foot, and I can't tell you the name of the bone. He said it, but there's no way I'm going to remember it. I got hit in the head a couple days ago, so memory is a tough thing. But it's the bone of my foot that controls like the bend of the toes and stuff. So he was like, yeah, when you bend your toes, you're going to feel it, and you're going to feel it for about 6 weeks. So I don't see how you can play on it. And I kept asking him that night. I kept saying, well, what if I can play on it? What if I can handle it? What if I can tolerate it? And his response was just, there's no way you can. I don't think you can. And so I went to bed that night thinking that was it. The next morning, we had a foot specialist look at it and told me that the tendon that connects to that bone is protecting that bone. So he reassured me that it's not a displaced fracture. It's a stable fracture, they said. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going to break if I go out and run on it. So he reassured me that, hey, once you can tolerate it, go for it. So that was all I needed to hear. I mean, you don't get a chance to play in playoff stretches very often. I spent a lot of my career not playing in games in September that mattered. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to try to play in all these games I have left.
All right, last one on this. How much does it hurt? You talk about pain tolerance, and I don't think fans understand. We have players on here that talk about playing through things. How much does it hurt?
I can walk. I can get by walking without a limp now. So how how cleats feel and how I can run and stuff will be a big test. But I can manage to walk without a limp now. So if that kind of gives you an idea of where it's at.
You're so tough. You're not only good looking, but you're tough. That's awesome.
Hey, I spent my
But
whole
we
career not being on the IL, and I'm really proud of that. And I come to Atlanta, I get my nail ripped off, I get smoked in the head, I break my foot. They're testing me. They're doing all they can to put me on it, and I'm doing what I can to fight back.
Maybe you're just not built. Maybe you're just not built for the ATL. Who knows? But you'll grind through it. I know. You're more of like a Tennessee, Oklahoma, Midwest kind of guy. Like, that's fine. That's fine. Not everybody's built the same.
The Carolina
That's
boy,
right.
Kratzy.
I know you are. So we got to get to the hit by pitch in the head, and not necessarily the hit by pitch, but the comments. What kind of reaction have you had from ex-teammates, current teammates, people you've never even played with? What kind of reactions have you had, and how did the meeting, your rules committee meeting, which happened to be the next day, go?
It's really all been supportive. It really has been. The way I expressed things that day when I got hit, I was hot, so I could have, I don't know, gone about it a little more elegantly. But I was hot. I just got smoked in the head and put a camera in my face right afterwards. So I went about it a little aggressive. But what the idea of it, we've been talking about for a long time, upwards of 2 years now, and it's at the end of the day, the qualification of a pitcher. A major league pitcher is different than it was 10 to 15 years ago. What it takes to be a major league pitcher is different now than it has been before. And we have to keep up with that. It's not going away. It's not going to change. It used to be you have to throw strikes to be in the big leagues. Now it's about how hard you throw, what your ball do, how deceptive are you. And better or worse, that's for each individual to decide if they like where the game's at based on that. But that's where the game is. That's where the game's headed, and it's not going to change. So as players, our main job is to come out and play, obviously, but we also, our job is to watch out for the health and safety of current and future players, and watch out from a business standpoint of current and future players. So the health and safety thing is an important topic. We've seen it too much lately with the new age of pitching. Guys are just ripping balls, and they're ripping balls up and in, and not really concerned with where it's going, just concerned with how hard they're throwing and how much it's moving. So with that, we got to figure out how to combat it. We got to figure out how are we going to get pitchers to at least think twice about when they come in, not missing up and in. If guys are throwing too hard, guys' sliders are moving too much. And so as a hitter, you got to stay in there if you want any chance to be successful. And so we got to figure out a way to get pitchers to get the ball back down when they come inside.
But first of all, before I ask my follow-up, what the heck is that noise?
We just had the gator coming. Of course, he's dragging the warning track right now. Sorry.
A Florida Gator?
No.
Oh, a Florida Gator?
I mean,
a Gamecock wouldn't handle that.
Listen, Whit went to a directional school, South Carolina. Okay, so let's not forget that. Whit, let me ask you this about you're talking about getting hit in the head, and we need to figure this out and all that. But like, what can we do? What can anybody do? Because the pitching's not going to change. Pitchers are getting paid because they throw hard. Pitchers this that. Back and listen, I'm not the old man on my lawn. I'm all for throwing hard. I'm all for bat flips. I'm all for emotion. I'm all for all that stuff. But back in the day, you threw one at my dude's head. Guess what? Someone on your team's getting smashed. And that was how you took care of it. And then somebody charged the mound, and you went and you played the feud for a couple minutes. There wasn't usually punches thrown. And then you broke it up, and then it was done. But nowadays, you get hit in the head. You can't go to your pitcher and say, hey, smoke somebody never up here, but smoke somebody for payback, because the umpire's going to go, you're out of here. They're suspended. It hurts your team. So what's the way to make this work? Because listen, I was a hitter. I didn't want anybody hit in the head ever, but there was nothing you could do about it, because if one gets away, oops, hit him in the head, hit Whit Merrfield in the back of the head, and now I can't retaliate show them like we need to figure this out. So what's the process that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I hate saying back in the day, but back then you're right. I mean there was a little bit of thought in the pitcher's heads. One, pitchers commanded the ball better back then, in general as a whole. But there was that thought. Okay, if my guy gets, if I hit somebody, my guy could get hit. Or a lot of pitchers in the National League, they had to hit as well, so they didn't want to hit anybody. But now that that whole philosophy has changed and is gone, and you there is no retaliation anymore. And I'm not saying that guys are getting hit on purpose, guys, because I don't believe. I think very, very rarely is when somebody gets hit, is it on purpose. But at least back then, there was a thought of, okay, if I hit somebody, there could be consequences for my team. There's no thought of that anymore. And with the way pitchers are throwing now, we have to bring some sort of thought into the pitcher's head where if I sail this ball, it could be bad. And, whether that's auto ejection like they do in Japan, whether it's a day or two of pay and fines, having to play a pitcher down for the rest of the series, whatever it is, it's got to be something. Every other league has put into place rules when it comes to head injuries. Football does it, basketball does it, hockey does it. Actually, I don't know if hockey does it. I just said hockey because there was another sport that crossed my mind. But I know football does it in college football. It's an ejection, a targeting ejection. NFL is hefty fines. NBA and college basketball have different levels of flagrant fouls based on the type of foul. And so it's the evolution of the game, and it's about time our game caught up before, we're talking 95 to 106 now over in LA, mile-an-hour fastballs. If that thing would have hit me in a different spot, we're looking at something potentially tragic that could happen, and we're trying to avoid that best we can.
What about 2 bases for a hit by pitch in the head?
Anything's on the table at this point. It's whatever it is. It's got to be something that resonates with the pitcher. Like let's try to command this ball in a little bit.
Well, what about because we know how the rules committee is. It's 4 versus 6. How is it being received in the rules committee? Is it, hey, we'll definitely discuss this, drag it again. There goes a Florida Gator. Just make sure, if you want to stop the Gator, just put a Miami Hurricane in front of them. That's all.
Honestly,
yeah,
I haven't come across anybody that's been that's pushed back on this. Everybody has been kind of in the camp to where, yeah, something needs to be done. This is kind of getting out of hand. Whether it be pitchers that I've talked to, hitters, ownership group, coaches, everybody from like I said, from players to front office to ownership have been supportive. And I'm not saying there's not people out there that are against it. I'm sure there are, but I haven't heard directly from those people yet. So it's been an outreach of support, and something's got to happen.
Yeah, in a sport that usually debates everything and doesn't want to change much, I feel like this one in a player poll would do pretty well. Like, hey, let's try to do something, to deter this from happening.
Yeah, and it's been a buildup on this team up until when I got hit. We had Austin Riley break his hand a couple weeks prior, and then after he broke his hand, Michael Harris got hit in the hand a game or two later, almost broke his hand. Travis d'Arnaud got hit in the wrist a game or two later, almost broke his hand. You're seeing it throughout the league. Bobby Witt got hit in the hand a couple games ago, and if Bobby breaks his hand and Kansas City's on this amazing run that they're on, it's happening way too often. Guys are getting hit in the head too much. Guys are getting balls up and in too much. And that's part of the game. Pitching in is a big part of the game, and I don't want that to go away. I just want pitchers, when they throw in, when it's on purpose, to have some command, because half the time it's not even on purpose. They're just missing up and in, and that's we gotta figure out how to combat that.
Hey, next time someone gets hit, just tell Sale, get angry and just let one eat and see what happens. That'll stop it. That'll stop it real quick. But then they'll get ejected. That's the
way
problem.
it is now, he's going to get ejected. And
no, I know.
He shouldn't be at fault for that.
No, I agree. All right. So before I let you go, I talked about this before earlier, and I made a little quip on it, and you missed it. Kratz got it. We had an argument with Don Orsillo about directional schools, like Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame. So is South Carolina a directional school? Because there's also a North Carolina. So are those directional schools, or are those like main schools?
No, it's the name of the state, so it's a main school.
Okay, so what about like Southwestern Carolina? Would that be considered a directional school?
Yeah. East
Double
Carolina directional school. Western Carolina directional school.
Okay.
North Carolina and South Carolina not directional schools.
Okay. All right. Just want to clarify because we had a whole big topic on this. And Don Orsillo told me that Central Florida is a directional school because you got to go through the middle to get anywhere.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Wait, real quick. Is it a state school thing? Is that what this is about? Like UF and
No. Usually,
FSU?
Whit gets it. Whit played in the SEC, so he understands these Northerners. It just means more down there, Whit. So,
just means more.
like, yeah. So if you're like the University of the state, like you're the University of Florida, you're South Carolina, you're North Carolina, you're Georgia, but then you get, like you said, East Carolina, Western Carolina. Like those are supposed to be the smaller schools. So if Notre Dame would have lost to Illinois, you'd be like, okay, it's Illinois. But then when they lose to Northern Illinois, because that's only like encompassing the top of Illinois, it's a bigger deal because they're not supposed to be as good.
No question.
So they're
Because
baby
South
school.
Carolina game day, South Carolina this Saturday. Big game.
What?
You went to South Carolina?
too.
I thought you went to USC. I thought you went to Southern California.
I
That's
can say
weird.
I can say Carolina, I can say USC, I can say South Carolina. All means the same.
Wait, who do
If
they
I call
play
you
this
Eric or Kratz or Kratzy, it's all the same.
week? Wait, who do they play next? Who do they play this week?
LSU.
And game days there?
Yep.
Ooh.
Slow week.
Ooh. By the way, did you see what
Slow week.
McAfee said about? Did you see what McAfee said about your alma mater on game day last week? Sorry, we're way off topic here.
I know he picked him. Yeah, he picked him along with Phelps because Phelps got some Gamecock ties.
Yeah, no, he said he likes and I'm going to let you fill in their mascot. So
If you didn't go to high school and have the South Carolina hat that just said Cox on it, you weren't in high school at the right time.
that's true. That is true.
I know
That is true.
Kratz had it.
No, I don't even know what
The
he
white
didn't even know
one?
what South Carolina was.
The white one with the lines on top and bottom?
That's it.
We got to do that for Kratz hats one day at the end of the show. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, Whit, good to see you, dude. Get well quick. We'll see you back on the field on Friday. All right.
All right, fellas. Hey, golf tournament coming up. AJ,
When?
meet you there.
When
Same
is
time,
it?
December 4th through the 8th. We got MLB Network coming out to cover it this year. It's going to grow the field, bigger purse. It's going to be good.
What about Foul Territory Network covering it?
South Territory Network will be great. Get out there.
We can do
Yeah, no
interviews
problem.
there. Yeah. we
Is
did
that
it last
Ritz
year.
again? Is it at Ritz again?
Yeah.
I'll look for my
All right.
invitation.
Next time we're on, let's lay it out. Let's go over some
Yeah, let's do it.
participants. Let's start to hype it up. It's that time.
Yeah, because somebody asked me the other day about it. I was in a clubhouse the other day, and somebody said, "Hey, is Whit having his golf tournament again?" And I was like, "I don't know. I haven't heard about it." So that's
Yeah,
official.
The NHL picked it up this year, and they had their tournament in August. So we were waiting until that tournament got done to sort of start promoting this one.
All right.
All right,
Perfect
I
timing.
like it.
We're here. We're ready for announcements, the whole deal. Next time you're on. All right.
Love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Whit. Good to see you, dude.
All right, good to see you guys.
And by the way, of course, Whit, part of the Atlanta Braves. The Hammer Territory podcast is part of the FT fam. So if you want to check that out, yeah, there's that pretty big Mets Brave series coming up soon in a couple weeks where we spoke to Giraffe Neck Marc and Mets up about it. You'll probably have those two pods doing a little crossover action, but go get that wherever you get your pods. We'll be right back to go over yet another Dodgers pitching injury. Oof.
First off, I wouldn't totally rule out the Tigers just yet. They've got the Rockies and A's coming up. They're playing great. And Minnesota and Kansas City, where I am this weekend, those teams are struggling. So, yes, it's a long shot, but the season's not over for them. Now, the question is, should they spend this offseason? My answer is yes. And I expect their answer to a degree is going to be yes as well. They know that while they have a talented group and a group that can potentially compete for a playoff spot next year, it needs reinforcement. It needs some veteran bats in particular, guys who can anchor the middle of that lineup and let the younger players grow around them. They have, obviously, some talented young hitters, but at the same time, they need more. They need greater balance. You're not going to win with just kids, and that goes for the rotation and bullpen as well. They're kind of patching their staff together in this run that they're on now. It's really impressive, but you need to reinforce it. The Nationals, and I hate to do this, AJ, but it's hard to answer because it's hard to read the minds of the learners, the people who own the team. Yes, they have spent at times in the past, but it seems to me they like being in retreat as well as far as the finances are concerned. And it's a similar situation to Detroit in the sense that you can't just win with James Wood and Dylan Cruz and CJ Abrams and all these kids running around. They're talented. They're really good. You need people around them. And you also need, in my view, maybe a veteran at the top of that rotation so that the others fall into line. Will they do that? That I feel less comfortable believing in than Detroit. I do believe that Detroit understands now that they're going to have to take a little bit of a step forward financially, if not a major step forward. And here's one thought for Detroit. Alex Bregman. AJ Hinch was his manager in Houston. Alex Bregman is a free agent. I know they have Josh Young's younger brother who could play third base, but if you can get Alex Bregman, you probably do that.
Injuries do indeed suck. Gavin Stone hits the shelf, right shoulder inflammation for him. We're still waiting for Yamamoto. It's for the Dodgers. We are still waiting for Tyler Glasnow, who had the tendonitis, and then I guess it was somewhat of a setback. Because remember, at one point they were like, "We're hopeful he'll return." So it's starting to become an issue. And I got two things, and I'll kick it to you. Number one, that Jack Flaherty trade. That was it. That was it. That's why you make those trades. That's why you win those deals. Number two, Andrew Friedman spoke, I don't know if it was directly to Alden Gonzalez, but he put an article out there. And the quote from the Dodgers president is that they're going to need to spend a lot of time on this in the winter. And by this, he means pitching injuries. Are we at that point now, AJ, where it's too much?
They have an all-star team on the IL right now of pitchers. If you looked at their IL list of pitchers, you could make an argument they'd be the best starting or best pitching lineup in all of baseball. If you went 1 through, 12 or 13 guys they have. I mean, we're getting about Dustin May, Gonsolin, right? I mean, this is unbelievable. Gavin Stone, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Kershaw, May, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Tony Gonsolin. I mean, that is ridiculous, the amount of guys they have on there. And yeah, we're going to just spend a lot of time on this. We've had this conversation on here, Kratz and Scotty. Let's not have every guy throw every pitch at max effort. This is the Rays. I've talked about this. This is the Rays with money. Throw as hard as you can until you blow out. We'll go find somebody else. Yes, thank God they got Jack Flaherty. They need Yamamoto back. I think he's supposed to pitch tomorrow. They need Glasnow back. Is Kershaw going to come back? Dustin May hasn't pitched in like 4 years, I feel like. I mean, he goes out and throws a month or two, and then he goes out, blows out again. Like, at what point are we going to look at it and say, maybe we don't have every pitcher throw every single pitch at max velocity? I don't know. Maybe that's not the answer. I don't know, but I know that's what gets them paid, and I know that's what keeps them in the big leagues, so guys are going to do it. But yeah, it's not just the Dodgers, though. It's every organization. But the Dodgers, man, for the last 4 or 5 years have just been like, all the time there's somebody going down. It's sad.
And they just keep picking up guys that do really well. And I'm not sure if I'm in the camp of the Dodgers are breaking them or they were broken before. is this a Jason Foley said the other day, like this isn't a big league issue. This is a developmental issue that rears its head in the big leagues because you have to face big league hitters. You can't let off the gas at all. His exact quote was, "Big league hitters are too good. You can't let off the gas at all." And my question would be, if the Rays and the Dodgers are the preeminent teams right now with like, oh, they find somebody, they unlock this, they do that. Andrew Friedman's saying we need to look at this in the offseason. If there's a team that can figure it out, I'm going to say it's the Dodgers because there's no bigger loss in the game, not even just for Major League Baseball in general, not having Kershaw out there, not having Yamamoto out there, not having Glasnow out there, not having the best pitching matchups out there. It's the biggest loss for every team is the injured list. And whether it's a shoulder inflammation for Gavin Stone, back-to-back Tommy John surgeries, I don't believe it is just a Dodgers problem. I think it is a larger problem that maybe the Dodgers can fix for everybody.
But why did they have a higher number? Like for example, this year, I mean, this competitive team. Yeah, I mean, well, there are a lot of different numbers to look at. It feels that way. And I mean, if you're looking at, say, starting pitchers, they've had 17 starters this year. Angels and Marlins have 18. That's the top of the food chain, or the bottom of the food chain, if you want to call it that.
So are we just not talking about the Angels and Marlins because they don't have Gavin Stone? They don't have Glass.
Yeah. Dude, they're in a different spot, though. They don't have horses, or they're hurt. For the Marlins, I get it. Some of them are hurt, but also they're bad teams. It doesn't matter as much. You can bring some dudes up from the minors, try them out. Angels are in a different category, too, because they'll bring, a dude up as soon as he graduates from kindergarten. I'm kidding, but they have a different game plan from the rest of the league right now. I just think the Dodgers stand out. Like, it's felt that way. And I feel like people have been hesitant to say it. And now that Friedman said it, I feel like it's like, okay, let's dive into this because you guys do a great job of helping pitchers click. But why are you then taking so many hits?
Okay. Where did Andrew Friedman come from?
Tampa Bay.
Okay. Who last year was this team?
The Rays.
Tampa Bay.
Okay. Who's been this team for a long time? The Dodgers have always had injuries. Look, since Friedman's got there, look at their list. It's been long. But they've always been able to cover it because they have enough money, right? And they're just like, oh, we'll just go get somebody else. But look at who was on who's on the injured list for the Rays: McClanahan, Springs, Fairbanks. I mean, Poche, Lindsey. I mean, Waguspek, Sterner. I mean, there's Whit. I mean, you go through their injury list. It is like boom, 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 boom. Remember at the beginning of the year, they had like how many guys on the IL? Their pitchers with elbows and everything. When they started, it was Springs, McClanahan. I mean, it was like 6 guys or whatever it was. I don't know exactly the number, but it's the same thing, right? It's the same. Oh, we'll blow them out. They'll come back in a year, and we'll pitch them again until they blow out, and then we'll go on to the next. The Dodgers are doing the same thing. The Dodgers just have a deeper pool and resources pool to choose from, and they just go out and make a trade for Flaherty. The Rays don't make those trades for Flaherty. Right? They go out and have to find a minor league guy or a DFA guy and make him work. But these two teams seem to be ahead of the curve for injuries.
Do you guys see something in particular? Like, do you have a theory? I mean, it doesn't have to be tied to heavy data. Like, is it adding pitches? Is it focusing on, one pitch and hammering it more? What do you think those teams are doing more than some other ball clubs?
What you said last. It's the... What is your best pitch? Well, why is that your best pitch? It's not because you throw it any differently than anybody else. It's because that is your best pitch at max effort velocity, whatever that is. Whether it's the guy throwing a splitter at max velocity. When we had, I forget what doctor we had on, he was talking about he can tell by the tear in your elbow, and I'm always speaking about elbows, what pitch was your predominant pitch. And when you talk about a predominant pitch, a pitch that you throw the most, that's what they do. Look at what the Astros did with Kikuchi. They banged everything else. It's heater, curveball. Look what the Rays did with Glasnow when he first got to the Rays from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was like, hey, we're going to sink it. We're going to slide it. We're going to throw your fastball. Now, if you up a percentage by 10%, by 30% usage, on your one pitch that you were going to with 2 strikes before. Now you're going to it 0-1, 1-0, 2-1 to get back in the count. You're just setting yourself up for an opportunity to get hurt because you're just throwing that pitch to an nth degree. And as a starter, you're doing that 100 times a game. Whether you're throwing a pitch 50% of the time, now maybe before you were throwing it 25% of the time, you're throwing it twice as many times. And I think you're just setting yourself up for, I don't know how to build yourself up to be able to throw your nastiest pitch more often. You just go to that team and they say, sling that thing, big fella.
Here's the thing, Kratz. You remember Matt Whistler? Matt Whistler was a starting pitcher, right? He never had, I don't think he ever had an arm problem in his life. He goes to the Rays, and he goes out there, and they tell him, you're 98% slider. So he's just going, right? Cranking it. Has a good year and a half. After that, he was done. He retired a year later. 2022, he pitched for the Rays. 2023, he announced his retirement because he was injured. He couldn't pitch anymore. That's an example. What Scott said. They take a pitch and they say, listen, if you can throw splits, then you're going to throw the split 80% of the time and get the guy out. And the pitcher's going to say, well, damn, it's working. I'm going to keep doing it. And then all of a sudden they throw the one and they go, all right, well, we'll see you in a year. That's the way these teams are looking at it. It sucks. I mean, I'm sorry. Not all teams, but certain teams are looking at it and saying, I mean, there's a bunch of teams, though, that have injuries. I mean, you can look at the Reds. They've had some weird things. They're not all the same, but the Dodgers, the Rays, obviously. But there's other teams out there that are all looking at their injuries going, what is the problem? And it's not going to change until we start at the youth level.
Yeah, at the youth level, it's huge because you can't take away a big leaguer's success. No way a pitcher is going to sit there and go, 7th inning, we're winning by a run. I know sliders the play here, but I've already thrown 12 of them, and AJ's out of seeds in his back pocket, if you watch back one of our earlier episodes. Nope, no more sliders because that is a dangerous pitch for my elbow. It's okay. We won't make the playoffs. It's okay. It's the 7th inning of the World Series, Game 7. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No, it's never going to happen. Dudes compete. We just talk about Whit playing through a broken foot. Dudes in the big leagues compete. The answer is not in the big leagues. The answer is in youth and maybe even minor league development. I'm not sure. That's where strength coaches and doctors need to step in.
All right, Kratz, we got to take a break here, and we're going to be back with a special guest. Not only Ken Rosenthal, but also a special guest. I feel like we're going to be honored here by another guest. So Ken Rosenthal and a new guest coming up.
I'm excited. I want to talk about the Braves staff in general, and specifically Ronaldo Lopez. Where does he fit in here? If you're looking at it now, the Braves are tied with the Mets, so no longer can you sit there and go, "Oh well, we got to rest Ronaldo Lopez for the rest of the season." Do you see it holding up, and do you see it holding up because he needs to throw for this team for them to make the playoffs?
He needs to throw for this team to make the playoffs. He absolutely does. Everybody's got to come through. I mean, he's been fantastic. Like, I did not agree with them putting him as a starter this season. I thought he was a bullpen piece. Anthopoulos said he thought he'd get like a 3.80 ERA out of him. Reynaldo Lopez, I talked to him at the All-Star game. He's like, I didn't expect this. And he's been a stud. Like, dude has been absolutely incredible, and you've got to rely on him if you're the Braves. And I also think Schwellenbach is a really big surprise for them. Dude looks legit, and I would trust him in a big game as well.
All right, let's see this shirt that I'm going to get a proceeds of.
Yeah, right. That's good.
I have noticed that Chris Sale just looks like the meanest guy on the bump. And I talked to him at the All-Star game. I'm like, dude, you have what I call resting pitch face. And he thought that was hilarious. So he's like, if you put that on a shirt, I will wear it. And Chris Sale is a man of his word.
That looks good.
Sometimes.
Not,
Just because he's delayed, just because he doesn't come on the show right away when you call him. He's not at your beck and call, AJ.
No, but I mean, he's good about it. But I do love that shirt. I do
is a
love
good
that
shirt.
shirt. The only way that would make it better is if you put his face on it instead of
We-
like the cartoon ball.
literally we're going to do that, and then we didn't want to have to deal with the Players Association approval and all that stuff. It was going to delay it, and we wanted to get it out there as soon as possible. I agree with you, though. His face is menacing when you see it.
I'll take
So
double
where can
X.
we get it? Yeah.
Where, you
X
get it
grade,
RotoWare.
RotoWare.
RotoWare,
Okay.
yep.
RotoWare does the baseballs the best shirts too, right?
They do. Yep. And I worked
Yeah.
on that with them too. I was like, we got to do something for Sarah. We get along very well. I do joint stuff with him all the time. He actually came up with the original Pitching Ninja logo too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, great.
Super
dude.
talent.
Everybody, and welcome to the Inside Scoop, along with Ken Rosenthal, our insider, of course. I'm Alana Rizzo, taking over for Scott Braun here with AJ Pierzynski and Erik Kratz. So, Ken, I'm not starting this segment with the Dodgers because I'm a Dodger homer, although Erik Kratz would like you to believe that. You, my friend, wanted to start with the Dodgers pitching injury woes. Gavin Stone, the latest to hit the shelf.
Actually, I wanted to go a little bit broader than that, Alana, and kind of piggyback off the conversation AJ and Erik were just having, in which they were saying accurately that youth baseball is part of the problem here with so many injuries. However, I hear this all the time from GMs and baseball ops people. In my view, that explanation, that thought is a bit of a cop-out. And it's a bit of a cop-out because it ignores what is going on at the big league level. Now, what Erik and AJ were saying about guys wanting to compete and compete to the fullest, even if it means getting hurt, absolutely true. Will teams push guys trying to get maximum performance until they get hurt? That is also true. So in my view, what needs to happen is what happened when the game was too boring and not enough action. It had to be legislated. And I don't know what the answers are in terms of legislating new rules to effectively force pitchers not to throw as hard. But in my view, that is the only solution. And then things will trickle down to the youth level. It doesn't start at the youth level. It starts in the big leagues and everyone trying to emulate what is going on in the big leagues right now. So while I appreciate what those guys are saying, what they're saying is actually quite accurate, in my view, the solution is not to start at the youth level. It's to start in the big leagues and then go down.
Who's tasked with coming up with this? Major League Baseball? Because then they're going to be accused of tamping down players' salaries because pitchers are like, I can throw harder. Major League Baseball doesn't want me to have more success.
No, I don't see it that way at all, Erik. Now, Major League Baseball and the union would have to agree on rules. Obviously, MLB has the ability to implement rules after a year's time. The technical part of that we don't have to get into. But my point, and what Jason Stark and I wrote about earlier this year, was bringing back the starting pitcher. And if you do that, you're not taking away people's money. No, you're enhancing the value of that particular player again. And instead of having a shuttle of pitchers going back and forth, relievers up and down, back and forth, then you'd have starters reestablished, more orderly bullpens, and people would be making their money still. I understand that's a legitimate concern, the financial part. And obviously, baseball always wants salaries lower. But what they should want here is fewer pitchers getting hurt, number one, and the reestablishment of the starting pitcher as a really prominent part of this game. And both of those things are not being addressed properly right now.
Ken, this is AJ. First time, long time here on Fair Territory with you and Alana. Alana, I'm happy that I finally got invited to join Fair Territory. Thank you. It's truly an
You're
honor
often
here.
mentioned. You're just not often invited, AJ. You're often mentioned.
Thank you. Well, long time, first
Work
time.
of the
Ken.
week.
Long time.
Twice.
Yep, twice. Well, Ken, I just want to ask you about your game this weekend. How was the White Sox-Red Sox game?
It was terrific, but I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right, because you're the dork of the week because you opted out of that game for a game that actually
right.
mattered.
Now,
Ken watched
AJ,
on his
I
phone.
did something on our show, Alana and I, the show we hosted on Thursday, that I don't know that I've ever heard you do, which was take responsibility for my
Take
actions.
responsibility.
I took
Point the finger
responsibility
inward.
for my actions. I fully acknowledge that I bailed on you. And actually, I don't know that I mentioned this, but you predicted I would bail on you. And I said, no, AJ, we're good. And then, of course, I did bail on you. So, yeah, I was dork of the week for that. That's fair.
You know
Okay.
what? Ken is the only one that has his own flex scheduling. He just decides I get to pick this. Screw the NFL. I'm going to pick whatever game I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
True. So Ken, tell me about the
Not
Rays.
exactly true.
Ken, tell me about the Royals and the Twins. What'd you see on
Great
Saturday?
game,
What'd you
AJ.
see this weekend?
Great game. I wish you could have been there doing analysis because it was really a fun game and we had some interesting things happen in the late inning. And Bobby Witt got a big hit and the crowd was alive. And wow, it was some really good baseball. Actually, not so good by one of your former teams. The Twins were not good.
Okay. Well, tell me about it. They're both going to make the playoffs, it looks like. And the Twins are
The
leaking
Twins
oil more
are-
than the Royals for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, tell me about the Twins because they've been making errors. They haven't been hitting. Their pitching has kind of gone south. Even like they're bringing in Duran at the end of the game. He's giving up big hits. So what's going on in Minnesota?
They're a bit of a mess, honestly. And one issue, perhaps the main issue, is the injuries that they have sustained. Correa, Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton have only been on the field together in 17 games. That's astonishing. Those are their three best players. They lost Joe Ryan as well. The thing that they haven't done is supplement themselves when these things have happened. Now, of course, you cannot replace players like Correa and Buxton. They're just too good. They're superstars. But they're down Kepler now, and they're playing all these young kids, and it's too much. It's too much for a team in a pennant race to be doing. And I mentioned this on my show today on Fair Territory that the Royals went out and claimed Tommy Pham and Robbie Grossman. At that time, the Twins were behind them in the standings. They could have had those guys, either one of them, if they had claimed them, and they chose not to. They were also rather inactive at the deadline. For whatever reason, this is how they've operated. And Rocco Baldelli, it seems to me, and he had a bit of a, I don't want to say tantrum, but he had a bit of an eruption yesterday after the game, just talking to reporters. He gave them a statement and was out because he is very frustrated right now, very upset with his team, to the point, AJ, where I cannot remember seeing him like this. This short-fused, I guess would be the right word to put it. And it speaks to their frustration right now. It speaks to the team's kind of reeling situation, and they're not in a great place.
Frustration isn't normally associated with one event. It's a building. It's a culmination of what's been happening. Is there any voiced or mumbled under their breath frustration that there was no moves made? You can say as much as you want about, oh, we love this team. This is the team that we're going to win with. Is there any frustration with that? And maybe that kind of added to Rocco's frustration?
I can't totally speak to that, Erik, because I haven't been around that team enough. And that's something for a beat writer to answer. They would know from the day-to-day vibes. I was around them basically 2 days here, and they were in the middle of these games. It was a big series. This was not a topic. But generally speaking, you guys know this. You guys were players. When a team does very little at the deadline, after doing very little in the offseason, players generally get frustrated with that. Players generally feel, hey, we're busting our humps out there. The front office should be doing the same. And you've heard from time to time different heads of baseball operations say, we need to honor the effort of our players by doing what we can to make the team better. They've had some financial questions around them because of their local television revenue situation. So have the Royals. And the Royals have operated much differently than them over the past years. So I don't know how much of that is playing into Rocco Baldelli's particular frustration right now. Would not surprise me if it was.
Ken, have you ever seen Rocco do this? Because I've been around Rocco as a player, played against him. He was a coach for a long time. Then he's obviously the manager. And I've done a lot of Twins games over the last 2 years. I've never seen him get mad, be frustrated. Everything is always sunshine and happiness, and we're great, and every player is just so happy. I mean, I get the frustration, but I mean, he's got to be on a different level for him to actually not only step like, listen, on your players, fine, but then to do it where one, people can hear it, and then to take it out on the reporters, which he's never done. This has to be a different level.
Well, I don't know that I would say he was taking it out on the reporters. My understanding was he just gave a statement, and that was all he had to say that day. That's not really an aggressive
Okay.
tone
But what I
towards
mean,
reporters.
no, I'm not saying
But
that. Sorry, but no. Normally he'll talk your ear off, right? I mean, you've been in
no,
his manager.
and
He'll talk
AJ,
your ear off, and everything is sunshine and happiness, and we're
yes,
good, and we're going to be great. So for him just to go in there and give a statement and walk out, that's more what I meant. Not that I'm saying like he screamed. He didn't go Hal McRae and throw the phone at Ken Rosenthal, which would have been awesome, Rocco, if you would have done that. Cut his eye. He would have had to come in with he had a bow tie on his eye. That would have been amazing.
to answer your question, I'm with you. And I have not ever seen Rocco, going back to the days when he was a prospect, act in any way negative, frustrated, whatever words you guys want to use, ill-tempered. He is an even-keeled individual, and to hear some of the things that have gone on with them over the past week, remember the Royce Lewis situation? There was some back and forth there. It's just not like him, for sure, and it's a reflection, obviously, of where they are.
Ken, we're going to go to Justin Verlander. Sure ballot, first ballot Hall of Famer. One discussion we've had on here a lot is, does Joe Espada go to Justin and say, sorry, you're not in our playoff rotation if things don't change this month?
If things don't change this month, absolutely. And that's a conversation I would expect Verlander would understand. But I'm not giving up on this guy yet. The Astros are not giving up on him yet. He is who he is for a reason. He has come out of things before. Now it's different. He's 41 now, and we all understand he's coming off an injury. This was his fourth start last night, and he has talked about how he is in spring training mode. Last night, as he called it, the results were atrocious, and we all knew that. He felt his stuff was okay based on what I read this morning. Okay, it's back to the drawing board, as he has done so many times in the past. He will look at video today, try to figure out what was wrong, if anything, and then keep going. Now, time is of the essence here. We're running out of time, and clearly, when you have Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, and Kikuchi pitching as well as they have, and Arrighetti at times pitching well too, then you have a situation where if Verlander does not improve, sure, they would have to make that decision. I don't expect that he would bully his way or try to bully his way into the rotation. He is pretty realistic in most situations and circumstances about where he is. And I would expect him to be, again, the variable here is whether he can bounce back. And again, it's really difficult to bet against Justin Verlander. At some point it will end. We all know that. But until it does, I'll wait and see.
Ken, sticking with the Astros for just a moment, what surprises you more, that the Mets have a better record than the Houston Astros do, even with DeGrom and, of course, Max Scherzer rehabbing, or the fact that the Astros were able to really get to where they are? I mean, both the Mets and the Astros were written off at some point this season by the so-called experts, and the Astros probably win the division. The Mets could very likely get in.
I am surprised that I figured this out this morning. I didn't figure it out. I looked at the standings, that the Mets had a better record than the Astros. That was like, whoa. And I know the Astros have had a great run. Well, so have the Mets, both since about mid-May, roughly. The Astros are not a surprise in the sense that we know who they are, and they've done this before. However, at 12-24, I've mentioned this. I wrote a column saying, is this it? Because it sure looked like it was it at that point. Kyle Tucker, was still healthy at that moment, and they were not playing well at all. 12-24. The Mets, after trading Scherzer and Verlander, after having the offseason that they did, when they kind of just patched things together, went short-term on some starting pitching, I don't know that I'm shocked that they're here, but given the way they were in around mid-May, I'm a little surprised they came out of it as well as they did. And I mentioned this, I believe, on Fair Territory today as well. Joel Sherman of the New York Post wrote a really good column over the weekend detailing how David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza made some adjustments on the fly. And Stearns excelled at this in Milwaukee, and they did it again. Iglesias coming into the equation. Mark Vientos coming up from AAA. Some moves in the bullpen. They have done a great job in coming out of it and getting to this point where they are right there. Now, will they get there? It remains to be seen. It's basically 4 teams for 3 spots right now. Padres, Diamondbacks, Braves, and Mets. They're all closely bunched together. The Mets have 3 left against the Braves in Atlanta. They also have 7 left against the Phillies. So it's not going to be easy for them. But they have played extremely well, and it's a credit to Mendoza, it's a credit to Stearns, and it's a credit to their players. Because it's a tough place, New York, when things aren't going well. We all know this. And teams often can or will go south in those circumstances. The Mets kind of steeled themselves and said, we're going forward. And that's what they've done.
Okay. That leads me perfectly to the last question we have for you today here on Fair Territory. Will the Mets or Braves get the last wild card?
I'm going to go with the Mets. And it's interesting. Fangraphs has the Braves.
Wow.
with
Claudia's
a
cutting
much
your mic
higher.
now.
Fangraphs has the Braves with a much higher playoff odds. I think it's something like 75%, and the Mets are at 50%, which is weird because they have the same record. And I went back and read this morning an article explaining their calculus and how they figured that out. It comes down to schedule. It comes down to the fact that those 3 games between the Mets and Atlanta are in Atlanta, and it comes down to the Braves have better starting pitching. Okay, I just love the Mets vibe right now, and I know that's a word that gets overused, but it's meaningful at this time of year especially. And the Braves, they're fighting, they're clawing, they're doing everything they can. And yes, they do have the superior pitching top to bottom, including the bullpen. But I just feel like the Mets are going to get there. Now, the real question to me is, do either the Padres or Diamondbacks fall back enough for both to get in? And we'll see.
Senior insider Ken Rosenthal, we always appreciate your insight here on the Inside Scoop. We'll see you next on Fair Territory, your show on Thursday, unless you join these foul guys before then. Looking forward to talking
Hold on, I just
more
wanna know
wild
one thing.
card race. What's that? Uh-oh.
I just want to know one thing. If AJ was satisfied with the answer I just gave, because he claims that I never give answers.
I'm just very
Is that-
proud that
is
you
that
actually
okay?
answer. Normally you answer
Just
a question like that with, well, as a Hall of Fame voter, I'm not allowed to answer those
That's the
kind of
past. I
tough
just answered the
questions.
question.
I
Talk
know.
about the present, man.
I was
Live in
my
the present.
My heart skipped a beat. We'll see you in Cleveland on Thursday, right?
No, I'm not going to be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
shocking.
He's checking in on that flex scheduling again. All right, Ken Rosenthal, we appreciate you. Fair Territory, or Foul Territory rather, continues right after this break.
Do you get jealous of when the closers and they saunter out in the 4th inning because they just got done getting massaged and everything? Or do you give that guy a hard time?
I don't really get jealous about it. Obviously, we're blessed to have one of the best guys to ever do it down here. But yeah, I think that he takes care of what he needs to take care of, and I don't think he's in there just kind of like hanging out, kicking it. I think he's doing what he can to be the best that he can be. So for me, whatever he's got to do to be ready and locked in every night, that's what he's got to do. So, yeah, if I get the opportunity to close the game out, I'm thankful for it. But yeah, I'm not going to get jealous of Edwin Diaz coming out when he needs to come out.
Do you feel like it's something that if you had to do it over, you would have done it differently when you were over there, or you would have gone sooner, you would have stayed longer, all of that?
The baseball there, it's different. A lot more hit and runs, a lot more bunts, a lot more small ball play. They don't strike out as much. They do everything they can to extend at bats. I think for me, I was thankful for the opportunity that I got to go over there. I got taken in the Rule 5 and didn't pitch well in the big leagues my first time up, and got a chance to get an opportunity to make life-changing money and some guaranteed money for my family. My wife was pregnant with our first son. It was kind of something where the stars aligned, where this was an opportunity to set us up for a longer run. Gave us a little bit longer of a runway. I loved it. The baseball there was incredible. I loved the culture of the food. Everything about it was incredible. I've got nothing but great things to say about my time there. Obviously, it was COVID. It was 20 and 21, so it was a little bit different. But other than that, that was the only downfall. I think that if something were to happen and I ever had an opportunity to go back, I would entertain that thought, and definitely want to try to do it again.
All right, guys, time now for our BetMGM Friday locks. It looks like Scott had a good week, maybe not with his health, but with his lock. AJ did not, and Scott and Erik was Switzerland. So tell me more about these picks, guys.
I don't understand how Kratz can push. Listen, I lost because Milwaukee choked, but how can Kratz push if Cabrera 5.5? How do you push on that?
He didn't pitch. He didn't pitch. They scratched him. They threw Kitchens. And he was throwing the Kitchens right down the middle, and the Phillies put like 10 up on the poor kid.
Got it. Okay.
Obviously, this pick was done before you knew he was being scratched, so I apologize for that. Money bags, what do you got? Kratzy, go.
We're plus for everybody. We're dominating. And AJ's only down because he went big to catch up to Todd. He has a little bit of Todd father jealousy.
Just because of that one thing, he has more money in money bags than me. Other than that, there's not a lot there.
That's it. That's it. Money bags.
What did Pap do? Let's listen in.
FT fan, what's up? It's your boy Parlay Pap coming to you on this beautiful Monday. And yes, we're gonna make a run today, and we're gonna carry it all into this week. Here you go. 2-game parlay. Dodgers with Buehler against Hendricks. I'm taking the Dodgers. And you already know I'm going against the White Sox. So I'm taking the Guardians tonight. And we're going to put that together for a 2-legger plus 120. We putting 200 on it. Let's get that cheese.
Pap always sounds like a great time. I've never hung out with him, but he always sounds like he's having a good time. Probably that's for a different show, AJ. Okay, fair enough. What are your locks of the day?
First of all, if you want a great time, Alana, next weekend, Pap and I will be in Stark Vegas for the Florida-Mississippi State game. So, if I survive, I'll let you know how it was on Monday.
Yes, please do. Please check in with us over the course of the weekend so we know that you're actually alive.
Yes. Oof, I know it's going to be a rough one. But I got money line Dodgers just because I like Buehler against Hendricks, and we're on Dodgers territory, so I figured, why not? Alana's on. I got to go with the Dodgers. And then I'm riding Paul Skeens. I'm riding that Paul Skeens horse pretty heavy. I'm going Pittsburgh money line and Skeens over 6.5 punch outs. It's a low number. It gets me to plus 205. Just betting 100. Got to get back on the winning track. Get over 1,000, and then we go.
Erik, what are your picks?
Everybody's picking on the winning the Dodgers here. I want the over because Buehler's giving up runs. Kyle Hendricks is going for the Cubs, so I'm going over 9 runs. I bought it down. It was at 9.5. Paired with the money line, and that is plus 155.
All right. I think that Buehler's going to reel it in a little bit. Not that you guys asked, but I wasn't even going to be on the show today, so I'm telling you what I feel anyway. Buehler's going to reel it in. He's not going to give up that many runs. So, Erik, I'm going to go ahead and say nay on your plus 155. All right. Time now to talk about our first bet offer from BetMGM. How to get this offer in 4 easy steps. It is easy, I tell you. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If it does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. We'll be right back after this break.
AJ, who wins the American League East?
Well, every time I think I'm going to say the Yankees, I'm like, man, the Orioles just keep figuring it out. So I'm going to say the Yankees do, just because I think their pitching overall is better. But then Clay Holmes isn't the closer anymore. So I'm like, yeah, but the Orioles don't really have a back end of the bullpen either. Oh, the Orioles offense is struggling. Adley Rushman. Oh, but wait, so is DJ LeMahieu and so is Alex Verdugo. It's like, man, both these teams are equally good and equally bad at the same time. So I think they end up tied.
Tied.
Yeah, but then who wins? Who won the season series?
That I don't know.
I don't think they're done yet. I think they play one more time.
That I don't know. So I'm going to say they end up tied, and then they're going to go to the 27th tiebreaker, which is a coin flip.
That's
and it's
so
going to
dumb.
be Hal
They don't have to do
Steinbrenner.
that, though. There's an odd number season series. So, and yes, they play the 24th to the 26th to.
It used to be. Remember the old? It used to be a coin flip, by the way.
What? When?
Yeah. One year in 2008. Yes, listen to me. 2008, we ended up tied with the Twins, and we had to play game 163, and we got home field because we flipped the coin and we won the coin flip.
Okay. I was going to say, because it was always a game 163, which being in one of those, you've been in one, I've been in one.
A couple of them. They suck. They're fun, but they suck. I've won one and lost one.
Oh, that would be. We only ever won the one that I was in. It was epic, especially because we won it in Chicago and they never got to pop bottles at all in 2018. So there's that. But I really think if I were, I'd rather have the problems in the back end of the bullpen that the Yankees have than the problems that the Orioles have. James McCann was on yesterday. I think Danny Colomé coming back will be huge for them because he's a lefty getting punch outs that I'm not saying they're putting him in the role that Sir Anthony's in right now or Yunier Cano. It just strengthens the whole bullpen. So in my opinion, I think Judgy's going to go on a hot run here like he did about 2 weeks ago during some week of the season, some week of September, and that alone could carry the Yankees and win the division.
All right, guys, time now for Slap Hands. And earlier on in the show, you were talking about how Nestor Cortes, the lefty for the New York Yankees, wasn't super psyched of having to come out of the bullpen. I understand he's a starter by trade, wants to be there. But I wanted to go ahead and pay off this quote to make sure we're painting the entire picture here. Nestor Cortes says, "I'm never going to back down from a challenge. I'm never going to leave my teammates out to dry. You're always going to get my best effort no matter if I'm happy or not. That's what I did today. I just came out there and proved that I can be put in any situation. And from here on out, if that's my role, then I'll accept it." So, AJ, I'll tee you up on this first. Obviously, you like the fact that Nestor wants to be a starter. He wants to take that ball every fifth day, but you appreciate the competitiveness, but you also like the fact he said, you know what? It's a team game.
See, this is how the media works, Alana. I didn't know the whole rest of the quote, and this was all in one quote. I only saw the top of the quote. So now that I see the entire quote, I changed my mind what I said about Nestor. He actually said the right thing, but because people like Claudia and Scott are always out to get me, and Alana, thank you for coming in to save the day. Now I get to see the entirety of the quote, and it completely changed my mind. What he said at the beginning was, I don't really want to do that. But now that I see the end of the quote, which I wasn't brought to my attention until now, Nestor, way to go, buddy. That's exactly what you should do. You went out and you balled when they brought you in. Kudos, brother.
That's why it's not going to be an issue for this team because they know the rest of what Nestor said. And honestly, you want him to be honest. You want him to express how he feels and not just say, I'll do whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. Because as players, if you say I'll do whatever it takes and you have an option, you have a clause in your contract, teams will take advantage of that. So good for him standing up for himself and good for him with this last part of this quote, standing up for his team.
No, I agree with you. I think that's what I was saying at the top, that you want him to want to be a starter. I mean, that's what he was built for, right? That's how he got to the big leagues. That's how he wants to stay in the big leagues. And I can appreciate the fact that, maybe he's a little ticked off that he got moved to the bullpen. But hey, I'm a team guy, but I'm going to work my way back into that starting rotation. And that's all you can ask for, right? As a competitor.
I love it. I know. I wish that I would have seen the entire quote instead of just the, this is how the news gets you, media. Those darn media folk.
That you are now a part of. All right. Are we doing a Kratz hats now? Is it time in the show for Kratz hats? What do you got? I see World Baseball Classic, Team USA. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I wouldn't play for Team Poland because A, they wouldn't want me, and B, I'm way too good looking.
I would say 50%
hold up. When did you play for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic?
I mean, the World Baseball Classic is way, way more than just, we're on TV. There's grinders that play in the World Baseball Classic. It's actually all under an entire umbrella ever since they were like, we don't want big leaguers in the Olympics, so we're going to create the WBC. So it was in 2010, I played for Team USA in a qualifier. Qualifier. It had like superstars, superstar minor leaguers. So without Eric Hosmer, Mike Trout, Todd Frazier, Danny Duffy, I mean, who else can I say was on that team? But without them, the big league team doesn't qualify for the WBC. So
you really think they're going to?
What was that?
What year was that?
2010. We played in the Pre-Mundial down in Puerto Rico.
Alana, you really think they're going to? You really think they're going to keep the USA out of the World Baseball Classic?
No, that would be ridiculous.
Exactly.
They have to qualify.
That's the dumbest qualify.
There is no way in the world a World Baseball Classic is not going to have Team USA in it. Give me a break.
They have to qualify. The rules are rules.
There was this guy, though. He's a really bad guy, and I don't really like him because of this fact, named Chris Iannetta in 2010 that took my spot on the USA team. After in 2006, the White Sox wouldn't let me, and then in 2010, they came back and asked me 2009 if I would be like an alternate because they found this guy named Chris Iannetta, and bad guy.
I heard that guy rakes. I don't know what you think.
Bad guy.
No.
He's a really good. He calls a great game.
He was just saying the right things. He played the media game way better than you, AJ.
Are you out of your mind? He can't stand the. I mean, he can't. He's mute. He's the most humble person on the planet. He'd never want to be. He's the total opposite of you two because he never wants to be the center of attention.
You know what he said? You know what I was honestly told? That he made it because he played USA in high school and he played USA in college. So they wanted to continue. And I'm like, hey, listen, just because I skipped college doesn't make me not eligible for this, okay?
What a purebred. What a purebred.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, it was great to see you guys today. Thanks for letting me pinch hit for Scott Braun. Follow and subscribe us here on Foul Territory. Thanks for everyone for being a part of it. Dodgers Territory is next with myself and Clint Casillas. All things Dodgers all the time, contrary to what Erik Kratz has to say. I do talk about the other 29 teams. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Dodgers Territory is next.